I've been thinking a lot lately about the journeys we take, not just the physical ones, but the ones we take in our hearts, especially the journey to Al-Aqsa. For centuries, for our grandfathers and theirs, that trip was a deep, unbroken expression of devotion. It was anchored in direct instruction from Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to set out for the three holy sanctuaries. Back then, you moved across continuous land. You stayed in caravanserais. You were part of a unified world. But today the road has changed. The spiritual yearning is the same, but the architecture, the bones of the journey, they have been replaced by something else entirely. When we visit that place now and we go now, we don't arrive in a sovereign Islamic sanctuary. We arrive within a highly calibrated security apparatus. We enter a deeply extractive economic system. Research shows that the occupying regime captures between 70 to 85% of all the revenue from our pilgrimage. Think about that number. Just think about it for a second. 85%. It's a real hard truth to swallow, isn't it? We go there for solidarity, we go to pray, but there is a stark empirical reality behind the prayer. This isn't an accident. It's a carefully enlightened, engineered mechanism. Our devotion is converted into a strategic taxable asset. In a way, our piety is subsidizing the very infrastructure of that oppression and occupation. We like to think if we spend our money in the old city with a local Palestinian brother, we are helping him. And we are on human levels. But the macroeconomic economy is a cold master. The supply chains are controlled, the taxes, the duties, the fees. It all flows inexorably upward into the state apparatus. The local merchant, he's forced to be a tax collector for the system that disenfranchises him. They sell us what we call a sanitized itinerary. We are guided through spatial corridors that bypass the friction. We don't see the separation walls. We don't see the checkpoints or the diverted water. We get the spiritual high of the prayer without ever confronting the political degradation of the people living in the shadow of the masjid. It's a curated simulation of Holy Land. We've done this in our own minds too. We have placed a moral layer over a fundamentally unjust base. We buy the halal tour package, making sure the meat is slaughtered right. We filter the micro transactions, but we ignore the macroeconomic destination of our capital. The intention is pure. I know yours is, but in this extractive age, our capital is serving an opposing master. Why did we lose our way? Perhaps because for 150 years, the world shifted. We went from a unified land-based system to a fractured collection of nation-states. We lost the Waqaf, that beautiful network of endowments that once kept the benefits of the pilgrimage local. Now we've internalized the rules of a system that sees land only as logistics, and our piety only as a market demographic. This is why we need a sovereign compass. We have to evaluate our actions by their outcomes, not just how they make us feel. If we don't, our most sincere acts are weaponized against us. We mistake the permission to pray for the presence of freedom. Our education has failed us here. We've been taught a kind of spiritual GDP. We count the multipliers. If I pray here, it's worth 1,000 prayers. True. But we've become functionally illiterate about the economic systems governing the land where we stand. True tarbiyah, true development cannot happen if our actions underwrite the subjugation of our brothers and sisters. Our tradition gives us a tool for this. Fiqh al-Waqi, the jurisprudence of reality. It says a ruling made in a vacuum of context is a flawed ruling. We have the principle, la darar wa la dirar, no harming and no reciprocating harm. If a voluntary act of worship channels capital to those who harm the life, property, and lineage of the people, does it actually fulfill the Sharia? I know what some will say. Farhad, please, if we stop going, they'll all be isolated. We need to show our presence. These are valid emotional points. But there is a massive difference between isolation and economic subjugation. Giving someone a temporary moral boost at the cost of heavily subsidizing the occupier, that's a catastrophic trade-off. It's trading long-term power for short-term comfort and gain. Look at the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ at Hudaybiyah. He and the companions were right there. They were armed and ready, but he accepted a treaty that seemed like a humiliation. Why? Because he read the structural reality. He wouldn't enter the sanctuary on terms that validated the authority of the Quraysh. He prioritized sovereignty over immediate ritual fulfillment. We cannot dismantle this architecture by participating in it, hoping our prayers will cancel out the ledger. Individual blessings don't balance structural injustice. It takes immense honesty to look past the beauty of the sanctuary and see the cold economic ledger sustaining its captivity. Until we recalibrate our compass, until we move beyond GDP, beyond the spiritual GDP, our attempts at solidarity will remain captured. It is an uncomfortable truth, but in this world, the cost of our spiritual fulfillment is often paid by those who can least afford it. This isn't a conversation that ends when the camera cuts. It's a study. It's a process of unlearning. If you want to look at the data, the actual economic breakdown of how these sanitized itineraries work, and how we might begin to rebuild our own sovereign compass, I have laid it all out in a long-form essay. You can find it at Farhad Omar's studios on Substack. We have to do better than just going. We have to understand where we are going. I'll see you there.